What's up, Bradford?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Hey.
So, rather than pretending it's just the two of us for like a hot second,
yeah,
we are in a room with two of our very, 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 very favorite people.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
and it's been amazing.
So, and this is probably going to be one of our favorite days of recent memory.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's because we're with these guys, and we're going to do fun stuff, and it. And
what do you mean we're gonna do fun stuff? Poor Chuck is back together.
Poor Chuck is back,
yes.
and we got Brandon Barash, we got Jeremy Ross with us. Scott, we all happened to stay in a hotel together last night. Scott didn't join us because he's shooting a movie.
He's shooting a short film.
Scott Reeves, the working actor.
Yeah.
And
he was going method last night. He actually slept under a bridge off the 405.
he's playing a homeless person, and he certainly looks the part these days.
Yeah, and he said he didn't shower for 4 days.
He smelled like he didn't shower for 4 days.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Love you, Scott.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, he smelled fine.
Yeah. We had an amazing rehearsal last night.
Yeah, it was interesting. That was an interesting place.
It was not. So the place that we're performing tonight, we haven't been there yet, but the pictures look gorgeous.
The pictures look a lot better than where we were last night.
Right, because
you love a deal.
I do love.
So I found a rehearsal place. Usually Bradford does a lot of this stuff, but I found one and it was super cheap. I don't even know how they stay open, by the way.
Yeah, I don't get it.
They look on the brink.
Yeah, on the brink of something.
They're living there, so there's that.
Yes.
They're saving living
It
costs.
felt like Texas Chainsaw Massacre a little bit when we pulled in.
Well, you
close
guys,
the gate.
You guys walked in with camera equipment. They're like, "What are y'all doing with that camera?
I know, it is a weird
What are y'all
thing.
doing in there?"
Totally.
Well, because it's a music recording studio, and
Yeah.
we walk in, and we were just working on vocals.
You can hear every other band.
Right, and so we were just working on vocals, so we didn't need any microphones. And he's like, "You guys need any microphones?" We're like, "No." And then he sees all this like equipment. And he's like, "What do you guys doing?"
What are you doing in here?
You know, if it
Would
was,
you like to know?
well, that's the thing is like,
Yeah.
if you're in any other part of the country, LA, I feel like you can walk into a random room with like camera equipment, and people just assume you're doing something like above the
Above
budget.
board, yeah.
Yes.
Or like
Yeah.
creative,
Sure,
artistic, you know. But like if you're in, I don't know, if you're in the middle of, I don't want to say a state, but if you're in the middle of somewhere else and you walk into like a shabby hotel room with a bunch of camera equipment, people are going to make assumptions about you.
Yeah.
And but
It seems
thankfully
like that place has been there for a long time, but it sure wasn't soundproof.
No.
Because there was only two groups rehearsing, us and a band, and of course they were right across the hall,
And we could hear exactly
And
every
it was-
single note of what they were playing.
and it was awful.
I guess maybe the thing is that like you're supposed to make more noise than your neighbor,
Yeah.
so you don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And also so you don't hear it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a lovely creative day. We're doing podcasts this morning. We got a little infusion of some vitamins. So if you're watching the video up here and
Alright,
You
Oh,
see
but
track marks.
Yeah,
We
we're
didn't
all-
shoot heroin
we're all-
last
yeah.
night.
yeah, no,
We got some IVs this morning, which were amazing for
Yes.
a great night tonight. I know this is going to be,
this is gonna be next Wednesday.
next
but
Wednesday, but last night was so fun. It was amazing.
imagine if everything just goes like terrible tonight.
Right?
Like someone,
I was gonna say you guys should shut up about how great the rehearsal was because
Okay, well, no,
in theater, if you have a good dress rehearsal,
well,
you're screwed
we
opening night.
kind of had a dress rehearsal, but
Yeah.
what was cool is how everything kind of just fell right into place
Yeah.
after 5 years of not singing
Not
these
so.
songs.
When was the last show we did?
5
together?
years
Do you guys
ago? Almost
remember?
5 years ago.
that was 2017 in Nashville, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, almost 5 years.
So 3 years ago.
Uh,
Well, 2017.
yeah, was it 2017?
I think so.
I mean, I'm no math wizard, but I think 20 minus 17 is
Well,
3.
I keep wanting to say 5 years. I've been saying 5 years.
Yeah. Well, let's go with 5.
Let's
then.
go with
Or we
5
can
years.
compromise.
Let's just
at
round.
4.
Let's round.
You want to meet in the
Let's
middle?
round up.
No.
So,
No compromise.
I just, the 5-year mark's good. And it's the
Yeah.
first time we were in the room together. All
Well,
of
but
us.
some of those
Yeah.
songs that, I think we're so far away from it that we don't remember exactly what we did. Obviously we have some favorites from like the nearest tours, although like 2 of your favorite songs from the nearest tours we're not doing tonight.
No.
So
Right,
like some
yeah.
of the songs that we're
But those are live show
More
songs.
live, yeah.
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But so some of these we
Yeah.
haven't sang in probably 8 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet most of the harmonies and everything,
They all fell in.
and some of the lyrics too, did you notice that too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it's
some
crazy.
of the lyrics that I don't. If someone said, what is the third lyric from Bad Medicine in the second chorus, I'd be like, I have no idea. But then in the moment,
The
just,
music comes on,
Yeah.
everybody
Totally.
starts singing, and it all comes back.
Yeah.
It's
It
fascinating.
was amazing.
Yeah.
It brought back so many memories of just random memories, like
for
Yeah.
sure.
random some of like Brandon. Some of his best performances. I remember it was one of his best was Water Street. It was House of the Rising Sun. I don't know why I remember it specifically.
Water Street, Rochester.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was
That a fun
amazing, and
venue.
it was just like your voice sounded incredible. You know,
Thanks,
some
man.
days where it's you just feel like
Yeah.
it's just gold. It just sounds golden.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because we were, I don't know how many days in we were, but we were warmed up or whatever.
Right.
But it's just you just remember those performances that just stick out. And you're like, oh, that was amazing. You know, but
Yeah. And
it was just so fun.
It was
Poor Chuck was so fun.
so fun. And gosh, I haven't seen Scott maybe since
3 years ago?
5 years.
5 years ago?
5 years ago?
5 years
In
ago.
Yeah,
2017?
3 to 5 years ago. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
man.
Well, I
It's
guess
crazy.
you know we did see each other when we were doing when we were shooting like promo stuff for the tour that never was.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. We
Yes,
went.
that's right.
Jeremy took pictures of
Yeah,
us.
Jeremy did a good video for us. Dude.
That was also at a recording studio, right?
Yeah, that was in Hollywood.
Yeah.
That was a nice
Did we
one.
rehearse?
We did a whole rehearsal and everything.
We didn't really rehearse, no.
What
just
were we
did a
doing at
promo.
a recording studio?
At a recording
Recording studio.
Those were
Literally,
the
the
Oh,
idea
because
hasn't fully
no,
kicked
because
in.
gonna DJ,
remember we
remember?
shot the indoor.
We shot the video, the promo video.
That's what
remember
it was.
We,
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
singing. What were we singing? Were we singing House of the Rising Sun while Steve was like mixing in the like
so
pretend to GJ
first
in the
of all,
background?
it was
That's
so
a weird
stupid.
song to DJ to.
That's why it was funny
Yeah.
because we were singing this like random, like really kind of like slow, like haunting
And he was
song.
wicka wicka wah in the background.
And we had like big smiles on our
Yeah.
faces, and Steve's like on a turntable in the back.
There is a house in New Orleans.
But those pictures Jeremy got, Jeremy's with us today, Jeremy Ross, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, dude.
Those pictures were amazing.
The
I've
team-
used that as my solo picture as a headshot many times.
Thank
Yeah, he did a
Yeah.
book headshot. Yeah, it's cool.
That was
So-
during the last fires in California, right? Because it was
Yes.
a spooky day that night.
That was,
Oh,
that's
very
right, the
smoky
sky
and-
was orange.
Oh yeah,
It's the
you're
first time
right.
I've
That
seen
was
that
that
before.
first round of really bad wildfires that we
Yeah.
had a couple years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really
So
spooky.
for Port Chuck, is there anything? I know we've talked about it before, but is there anything new that kind of popped in your head last night of like, oh, Wilbur was the best, or 'cause
Wilbur was
you
the
remember
best.
like the ping pong table on 42nd Street.
Yeah.
You just remember all these random things that flash into your head. You know.
What came back to me last night was the first tour we ever did. We all landed in Nashville, and we met, I think, at your house or somebody's house, and then we all caravanned to the grocery store.
Oh yeah.
And walking around the grocery store with, 5, 6, 7 shopping carts, like little kids.
Is this when we were loading the bus up?
Yeah, just throwing anything we thought we might possibly want to eat
Right.
in the next 2 weeks
was
in
not,
the cart.
It was not thought out.
No, it was
No,
like
not the first time.
Pop-Tarts, hot dogs, and
Everything.
we're like, those microwave, sure.
I know.
Well, and with
That was always fun meeting the bus, getting on the bus.
oh, dude, it was like,
Yeah.
but like with 13 of us, the
Ugh.
amount of and it's funny, like our musicians knew better, like, and our lead guitarist just got like a 12-pack of Coke and he was fine.
Yeah. I'll just eat whatever y'all eat.
Yeah, but yeah, the amount of like freaking power bars that we're
Yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing our stomachs survived that.
What about you, Jeremy? Is there anything that kind of being back together last night? Was there? anything?
I think I don't know how far this back goes or how far this goes back, but I remember randomly we met Reba McEntire.
Oh my god, that was CMA
and I
Fest.
got
That
to
was
bring-
also
yeah.
our first outing. That
And
was
yeah,
in Nashville.
I got to bring my camera, and we were randomly. I don't know if it was at her studio or
It was in
where.
a studio or
It was
something.
at
It
a
was-
house.
And then
It's
you
at
guys
some
did
fancy
something.
studio somewhere.
Yeah, it
She
a
was
fancy music
recording.
Studio, yeah.
Found
But it
out
was a
we were
house.
there.
It was a
It
house.
was a house in the basement of the house, but I don't think it was her house.
No, it was a recording studio.
Yeah.
But the fun thing about that was we were about to leave, and then someone came in and was like, no, Reba wants to say hi to y'all. We're like, oh, all right.
Oh,
cool.
right, because we were recording something for SoapNet down there.
Right.
Yeah, that was CMA Fest.
Right.
That was
right.
kind of our coming out.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, not a bad coming out.
No,
No,
I'll take it.
It's really good.
But that's right. Well, because we have that picture with her.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember the circumstances of the day. like why the heck we were in the same place as her. But yeah, it's that picture was certainly a moment in time.
Yeah.
Totally. It was fun, man.
But yeah, so we're, I hope for all of you guys that joined us tonight, thank you. Well, Brandon, now is on Days of Our Lives,
Yeah, man.
for you GH fans that maybe don't turn the dial.
Johnny Zachara is no longer.
Johnny's now Jake.
Jake.
Yeah.
Oh, are you Jake now?
Right, I keep
I'm
thinking you're
Jake.
Stefan.
I was Stefan first.
So can you explain to
yeah,
us
so
how that
explain
happened?
everything. So yeah, I don't even know what the hell's going on in your life. Go ahead.
All right. So I took over the role of Stefan DeMera.
Right.
I don't know, 2+ years ago.
Sure.
And then they kept the character going for about, I don't know, close to a year.
Right.
And killed him off. And then a couple months
So
later.
they killed you.
They killed me.
And
Right.
How'd you die?
So there was a confrontation with my mother and a police officer. My mother was pointing a gun at the police officer. Police officer drew, shot. I
Jumped in.
entered the matrix, jumped in front of the bullet, took it in the throat, and died, gushing blood.
Protecting your
from
mom.
Protecting my mom. Yeah.
Okay, so, I'm not sure if this is appropriate to talk about, but at that moment, was that, like, how was it decided that you were going to leave Days? Like, was it a good decision? Like, or do you know what I'm saying? What was the circumstances of that?
It was one of those things. I took over the role, and they said, "Look, we're not quite sure where to go with this. We're probably going to write the character off within about a month, so we're just looking for you to close the storyline out." I was like, "Great." So a month turned into almost a year of shows.
Right.
It was like 7 months taping time, which I think stretched out to almost, probably 9 to 12 months.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Great."
Sure.
Figured I was going to be in business for a month, and I did 7, and then they're like, "Yeah, we're bringing the story to an end." They killed the character. Fans were pissed
Sure.
that I was off the show, and so casting called me a few months later, like, "Would you consider coming back?" And I was like, "How's that going to work?" And so they pitched me the storyline and gave me a little bit of creative liberty with it, and here we are.
So are you a twin?
now I'm Jake.
You're a twin.
Yes,
Jake
I was first Jake Lambert.
Yeah,
and then
that's
he
a
found
manly name.
out. Yeah, and then he found out that he's actually a DeMera.
No kidding.
He's Stefan's twin brother.
You don't
Yeah,
say.
right?
So,
I know.
okay.
Is Patch still there?
What are the odds? Who's Patch? Is that Stephen Nichols, the guy with the eye patch?
Yeah, you're on the show.
Yeah. Well, I have.
Did they call him Patch?
I just had one scene with him, and I can't say what it was because I don't think it's aired yet.
Yeah.
But that was my
we
first.
We shot it in 2019, but it hasn't
Right.
aired yet.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But
He's still there. Yeah.
But they call him Patch?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't answer that question for you.
Jeremy, do they still call him Patch?
Patch Adams.
No, not Patch Adams. No.
But before, when you were Stefan, you were in a romantic pairing with, what was her name? Gabby?
Gabby. Yeah.
So, because I've seen this.
Stabby, as they call it.
Stabby.
Stabby love. Stabby love.
That's an interesting ship name.
Yeah, right?
Stabby.
Imagine the smush name of Jake and Gabby. Jabby.
So how, now now was Gabby just so
Stabby.
transfixed by seeing someone that resembled the man she loved so much that she had to have him? Or how did that go down?
Are you talking about the relationship with Stefan or Jake?
With Jake, I guess.
Well, he's dead.
Right.
Stefan's
how
dead, yeah,
right,
yeah.
so
Did
what'd
she be
Gabby
like,
do?
"Oh my God, you look like Stefan. Can
Yeah,
we do it?"
for weeks it was like
Can we do it?
Jake.
You think that's what people say?
That's what I would say.
Well, we know you would.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if Stabby would.
For I think a couple of months of tape time, she was very kind of obsessed with this guy Jake, who she was convinced was her husband, either who had been brainwashed or was pretending not to be him because
Those are
for
both
some-
viable options.
right, absolutely.
Sure, yes.
So as it turned out, like she had a DNA test run and all this, and that's how we found out that Jake is actually
All because of her urging this.
absolutely
Yeah. Wow. So
Yeah.
and you guys are now in a happy jabby?
No, she's off the show now.
Oh no!
No. Did she die?
Did she get shot in the throat?
She
She's coming back as Abby.
yeah, right. Yeah. No, there's an Abby on the show already.
Oh, shoot.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tabby. Tabitha. Tabby.
Tabby. There you go.
This could go really south.
Tabby, Abby, and Gabby.
Jeremy's like, why am I sitting here?
Labby.
I'm waiting for my hair to grow back. That's not yet.
Labyrinth? They call her Labby for sure. This is my daughter
Here he
Labyrinth.
goes. Here he
She's
goes.
a very complex individual. We call her Labby. She was made in a lab. We named her Labby.
Oh man! So what's it like being back on date? Well, you guys had a long COVID break, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, we were off March till September.
So longer than us. I
Longer
guess.
than you guys.
Yeah.
We were off longer. Yeah.
Yeah, and but so people were pretty thrilled to be back, I imagine.
Very.
Yeah.
Very. Yeah.
And it's very different being back.
So different. It's like alternate universe, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys can probably say the same thing.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are maybe a little more, have a little more, I guess, I don't want to say isolation, but probably isolation.
Oh, absolutely.
In the sense of, obviously we get tested and we take
Yeah.
all the precautions and all that stuff, but each show does their own different thing.
Absolutely.
Right,
Yeah.
mine are
Based
does their own
off of
thing.
how they're advised by their
Correct.
COVID team.
Right.
Who's different from the actual production team. They're part of the
Sure,
production team
sure.
now.
Yes.
But before this whole thing, they were different entities.
Is that so? In terms of that overseeing, is that a Corday overseeing thing, or is that an NBC overseeing thing? Who's taking on the liability for that? I guess is my.
I would imagine it's a studio, but I have no idea.
Yeah, it's got to be the studio.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Because they're the workplace
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
the production company
Yeah.
that's in there.
Or maybe it's a collaboration of studio and network.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's just.
And Corday. I mean, I'm sure he has something to do with it too.
Well, sure, but I wasn't sure, like, because ultimately, who's the employer at Days?
That's a really good question. I think it's Corday,
Right.
but then,
And then they sell it to NBC.
they sell it to NBC, or is it Sony now?
Sony.
Sony.
I think it's Sony now.
Yeah,
They
Sony.
sell it to Sony?
And then
Sony-
sells it to NBC,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, I believe that's how it works, yes.
Yeah, because we're just in-house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
which
are.
so which
Well,
which
but-
affects more than I ever. I didn't know that there were other ways of, especially daytime, of doing it until I learned more about the CBS model when you were there, and now hearing more about Days. Like,
Because you guys are all under the Disney umbrella.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I the methodology for them is not is just so. When you say company wide at Disney, I mean that's a huge thing to right like
Right.
So when their practices, that's all like I think company wide.
Yes, it is.
Because when
I think Gray's is back now too.
they are, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing a COVID story because in our parking lot, they have a set that looks like a
COVID tent.
Looks like a COVID tent. Yeah.
Jeremy, we need you.
Yeah,
We need you on set.
well, it's funny. It's
There.
like I remember the first time it came up. I was like, "Oh crap! Am I not supposed to go into testing there?" I almost walked into there going like,
I'm here for my test.
"Swab me, please."
Yes.
Bend over.
Swabby.
Swabby.
That's a good one.
Swabby love.
Oh man! Wow. Okay, so now how different is Jake from Stefan?
Very different. Stefan was very buttoned up, always wanted to do the right thing outwardly. Like he had no qualms about screwing anybody over.
Sure.
But always wanted to keep up appearances.
Isn't that a Demera thing? Aren't they like kind of?
Yeah,
like,
they're kind of a ruthless.
Are they
business
Cassadine?
family. Ish. I don't know if I know enough about the Cassadine family to
Sure.
adequately answer that.
Right.
But from what I know,
I hope not.
I mean,
I hope you don't.
Less Zachara-y and more Cassadine.
sure. Yeah.
This guy. See what happens when
So,
he gets an IV?
yeah.
He starts giggling. Giggle.
So he was.
Dr. Giggles.
He was very buttoned up, very white collar.
Yeah.
And Jake is just the complete opposite. Blue collar guy, auto mechanic. He's
Oh, yeah.
from like the streets of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
There you go.
And so
Does he
He's doing
sound
the
like
blue-collar guy.
Johnny when he came a little bit?
he
Or
not,
is he saying use guys instead of
he says yins.
Jens?
Yeah.
Jens. Yeah. Oh right.
Yeah,
Jens.
yins and that. Yeah. Jake kind of sounds like this. He's from Pittsburgh.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
He drinks Yingling and.
He does, yeah. Yins want some Yingling? We're gonna go down to the stadium, watch the Stillers play, and then afterwards we're gonna go to Giant Eagle, pick up some Ogies. So I dialed down the Pittsburgh a little bit for the show because it was actually, no offense to the Yinzers out there, but Pittsburgh was, I did research, voted the least desirable accent as like the ears are concerned.
Right.
In America.
That's
so
funny,
So
A narrow victory
Really?
over Boston.
yeah, right. I know,
Really?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it
because you
was
got
like-
Brooklyn, you got.
It was,
but no, but there's some-
Pittsburgh is there's some
Interesting.
people consider it abrasive. That's not my opinion, Yinzers. It's an opinion that I noticed that exists online.
It's an opinion that some people have, not mine.
Yeah,
but some
not
people
mine.
have.
No.
That's funny.
But so I kind of dialed it back a little bit and just made him a little more street. So in that sense, he is
Were they
similar.
like, oh, Brandon, what are you doing?
Well,
when
this
you
was,
first came in.
This was a deliberate decision. I actually wanted to make him Israeli at first.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
I wanted to make him like a Mossad guy, ex-Mossad
Oh
guy.
yeah, that's fun.
And they just didn't want to go international. They're like, let's do something more American.
Let's go Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Let's
So we-
take the
we-
worst accent.
we had two, and I actually sent them tapes of me doing both.
Well, I'm sure they didn't expect you to come in with a regional accent, or did they want
That was part of the discussion.
Oh.
That was like he talks a little different. So then
out.
it was
Yeah.
part of the development. It was
Well,
great though because it was collaborative. It was
Sure.
like I
That
was
is
working
actually
with Ron
great.
and Albert on the creation of this character, and
Yes.
so we together decided Pittsburgh.
Amazing.
And Philadelphia. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
So I know because you do kind of some impressions and stuff. Is there anything new, or can you throw out some?
You just heard it, buddy.
Oh, is that Jake Lambert?
Jake Lambert. That's right.
What about what? I know because you used to do Hank all the time.
I haven't brought him out in a long time, but considering it's poor Chuck, let's all sit around a campfire, roast each other's marshmallows.
Do you remember that video we did with
That's
Pinocchio
amazing.
way back when?
Which one? We did a couple.
Right, he did one where it was
Did
kind
I
of
bust
just like
out an impression in the middle of a Pinocchio video?
a bunch.
Did I really?
Yeah,
In
amazing.
the
Was
makeup-
I drunk?
in the makeup room?
Oh my god.
Because he's like, he did the
Of course I
old,
did.
by day they are some of your favorite daytime actors.
Okay.
By night they are poor right, like.
Okay.
And so it was kind of like an overview, and like
Yeah.
Steve talked to him about the, the idea, and then it ended. He buttoned it with, yes, actors, music, but one of the other guys might have another career in impressions, and then it's you singing like. What a Wonderful World is Louis Armstrong.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You did do that. That's right.
a tree.
Don't
Yeah.
hurt your voice.
Yeah.
Red roses
Yeah, no, save that.
Yeah.
But gosh, that was because I don't know if you've ever done this, but like basically going into like a black hole of YouTube videos of nostalgia of YouTube
Of
nostalgia.
myself?
Well,
No.
no, us.
I don't.
Of us. You bitch.
Poor Chuck.
It's a deep black hole.
Yeah.
Of sentimentality and good
Now
times.
there are times I don't like watching myself, so I avoid doing that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Are you? So you won't? Do you watch the show at all? Your show?
No.
Yeah.
I've never seen a full episode.
I love that.
Or even a full episode of my scenes. Never.
Yeah.
Not once.
It's nice to.
He's just got it on loop and
Oh,
sounds.
yeah.
totally.
No, when I was on General Hospital, but that's a good question. When I was on General Hospital, I watched every single scene I did.
Did you really?
Absolutely.
What changed?
All the way to the end?
Detachment,
Interesting.
my approach to the work,
Oh.
leaving it all out there, and
Mm.
knowing, even if I didn't do all that I could have, can't get
So
anything
what
back
was
out.
what was the mindset switch on that? Where that kind of was it in class? Was it?
It's a little bit of that. It was just a little bit, to get douchey for a second, but it's kind of
Yes.
part of a maturation process of at least my work
Sure.
is detachment, knowing
Interesting.
that I will do everything I can to prepare
Yeah.
and leave it all on the field, as it were.
Mhm.
And then when I walk off stage after I've done those scenes, I know I can't get that time back. I can't get those scenes back. Move on to the next one.
Right.
It's like you see baseball players,
Sure.
right? They're not going to think about their last at bat. Like if
Well,
they
they're not
strike
going to go
out-
home and rewatch the game either.
Well, but they will sometimes. They'll
Yeah.
watch tape. But what
Oh,
I'm
sure.
saying is,
Right.
there's that kind of that goldfish memory of forgetting the last at bat and just being present during this at bat. And so
Right.
for me, it's more of an exercise of being present and taking everything moment to moment and not watching being like, crap. I could have done that differently. There's
Sure.
even if you think you have eked out a perfect performance,
dude.
Oh, there's
there's
something.
always something you missed. There's always something that you could have done better.
Well, and how fast we go. There's
Well, yeah.
sometimes you stumble on a line. You're like, and they take it,
Yeah,
and you're like, well, that sucked.
yeah.
Moving
Well,
on.
I will stop the scene if that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll just, will you say stop or you just mess up?
I'll say, oh, we got to do that again. or I'll say, "Oh shit," and they
Right.
can't keep that.
They can't
No.
keep
So,
that, right.
yeah.
No. No,
Yeah,
they cannot.
I won't keep unless I think it's something that look in real life we stutter, right?
course,
We start
sure.
sentences and then we restart them. So if it's something like that,
something that's like
I
an
will-
organic
If it's
human
organic,
moment, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But if it's a blatant flub and it looks like an actor flubbing a line,
Right.
yeah, I'll stop the scene.
Well, you know, it's funny what you said about, you know, not looking back. And, you know, the only times that I would watch the show is when I had something either that I identified as a challenge, be it a comedic challenge or a dramatic challenge.
Yeah.
And then wanted to be like, all right, that, you know, like that it felt like I either met the challenge or exceeded it or did. I would watch to kind of match up with my feeling of how it went.
Did that work?
And
Right.
and ultimately, I'm not sure I'm not sure it was necessary or good, because you're right. No matter, like, because a lot of the things, you know, when you have a big emotional scene, especially, I found in our medium, since they're not as close to us as they would necessarily be on film. If I feel like I'm really having a moment, but it is more, you know, I'm not known for my subtlety, but if it is kind of smaller and more in like, I don't see it on screen, and then I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
I thought I was
doing that.
I thought I was
Yeah, sure.
I thought I was doing something, you know, really that would land in a bigger way.
Uh-huh.
And that's always interesting to me, and I don't think it's necessarily good, because maybe then next time I'll push.
Right, exactly.
you don't-
You know?
Exactly. So
And-
then you're kind of chasing your tail the whole time.
Absolutely.
Right? As opposed to, I've done those scenes, I'm
Yeah.
going to move on to the next one.
Right.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like, it is one day, and you know, sometimes I'm not. And this, do you guys have more opportunities? Would you say on days for those? Because when I've judged stuff or when I've caught days, it does seem like it's a little more heightened than GH. There are more moments of. Everyone seems a little more on edge on days in terms of like, there's always someone going at each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of conflict.
Right, and
Yeah.
a lot of domestic conflicts too. It's not like some of the problems on our show are there's a mob guy, Cyrus. We got to take him down. Our lives are in danger. Or sometimes I watch Days and it's like it's like more domestic
Relationship
stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that interesting? Is that an interesting world to play in? Do you feel like the relationships, like in terms of your romantic relationships on GH, your character, I mean, versus like your character's relationships on Days, is there more of a play space there? Like, are those relationships, is there difference in that kind of work?
God, I don't know if I remember.
Who were you with on the show?
Johnny and
On
Lou?
General Hospital, I was
Yeah.
I was the Village Bicycle Man. I was with Lulu.
The Village Pogo Stick, I think.
Pogo Stick, yeah, that's actually what I used to call it. Yeah. Actually, it's not what I've said before. I was with Lulu. I was with Olivia. I was with Carly. I was with.
Oh my gosh, really?
Who'd Kelly Sullivan play?
Connie?
Connie.
I was with Lisa Niles, with Brianna Brown.
Wow.
I was with Brooklyn.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was
dude.
with.
Wait, so they never really
Put
like,
you with it. Like you didn't have a relationship for a while.
Uh,
Like a long relationship on the show.
Lulu was a long relationship. Carly was a long relationship.
Really?
Olivia was a long relationship. Lulu, I mean, they were all. Each of those were at least a year to two, I
Wow.
believe. Unless
So
I'm
how long
just-
were you on GH?
I think 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good run.
7 years, and then I made the choice to leave, and they asked if I would come back. It was I think 2 Decembers in a row, and do like a handful of episodes, which I did.
That's cool.
But it was a 7-year run. Yeah.
do you end up working with less acting partners at Days than you do at GH?
I feel like that's the case. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
you're more with your.
And certainly now, I think they're trying
Sure,
to do
yeah.
less of that.
Yeah, just 2 people.
Less, big group scenes, and
Yeah.
but we'll still have some of those. But I have the world. Each character's world is a little smaller.
Right.
There are people who I'm friends with on set who I've never had a scene with.
And
Which
there-
is-
right, and there wouldn't be. They don't cross stories that.
They do sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
because like any soap, you're gonna have warring families, right? You're gonna
Oh, sure.
have the the Capulets and the Montagues,
Right.
You know, so whereas over there it's what Cassadines and Quartermains. Over here it's Corinthos.
Jerome's.
It's
Right.
it's Damaras and Kyriakis.
Yes,
and,
that's right, Wally.
Yeah.
Wally, yeah, Justin
Wally,
Kyriakis.
John Aniston
Yeah.
is the patriarch of that family. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So you're still gonna have my point to bring it around is you're still going to have that, you know, familial conflict, not intra-familial as opposed to intra.
yeah. Now, in terms of being, you know, one thing that everybody that works on a soap talks about is like being part of the history of that show. Now being a part of the history of 2 shows, is that like, does it feel? How does that feel? Does it register?
No, I never think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I often think about how profound my life is.
This guy spends a lot of time alone. I mean, he's with me a lot, but he's alone a lot too.
Well, but you also have a whole different fan base. I guess that's part of it. Is like you have obviously we spend a lot of time on social media and in interacting with people, and like you just gained a whole another group of families and people that have really invested part of their lives in this show and live and breathe for it, and that's cool too.
And people who probably, because when I went to YNR, there were YNR fans who never saw General Hospital.
Oh, that's right.
Never looked at a soap magazine. They're like, who is this guy? Where's this guy come from?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Like,
And you were what, a 20-year veteran when you went over there?
oh yeah. Wow.
Well, but also like you've been on the daytime Emmys and stuff so much and like been a face of that. Like,
yeah.
it's
It's just interesting though, because
Yeah.
I'm sure there's Days fans who's like,
Who's this clown?
you're.
Wait, no, people.
Right.
From what I heard, when it was announced I was taking over and I first started, people were like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
That's
Right.
funny.
But then they turned pretty quickly.
Sure.
But yeah, it was interesting.
Well, yeah, because that was your.
It's always dicey taking over a role, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well, and that was your first
for
recast.
sure it's
I mean,
dicey.
because obviously you created Johnny.
Created Johnny, and I guess I've created Jake via Stefan, but
Right.
yeah, that was I've never taken over a role before.
It's so.
Does it feel like?
Yeah.
Do you feel more ownership of Jake?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that must be nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love playing that character. He's fun.
Yeah,
he's fun. Slaves
He's
always is.
he doesn't take himself seriously, so I try to infuse, to the detriment of my very sweet producers and directors, as much comedy as I can. Sometimes they're like, "That was hilarious, but you cannot say that." We had one of those moments yesterday in rehearsal. I said something and the entire studio erupted. And the director came on. He's like, "Yeah, we need to stay away from that." I was like, "Okay."
Is there comedy on Days?
There is.
What's her name
sometimes,
was
and-
possessed. That was kind of funny.
Who was possessed?
Marlena?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a possession thing or something.
Yeah.
There. That was a long time ago, but
Right, but like purposefully comedic?
no. No.
But well, because like some shows strive for moments of levity. You can tell when they play the music.
Right. Yeah.
Like
yeah. Something quirky's about to happen. Yeah.
A nice jingle.
Right?
yeah.
That's amazing.
Just trademark that.
Yeah, it's a good jingle.
Or is that copyright? Is that copyright or trademark?
Both.
Okay. I just did both. So
Back
off.
Patent
Back
that shit.
Patent, yeah. Patent is saying. I think that's trademark.
I know. I was just trying to,
Oh, okay. You're trying to confuse me, aren't you?
Trying to get
Yeah.
us three.
trying to get more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Listen, hold on.
You've really added a lot to this conversation. Have you been sleeping for the last 20 minutes? What's going on over
well,
there?
trying to grow hair.
Yes.
Trying to squeeze out some hairs.
That was a hemorrhoid.
Jeremy has been taking care of people during these COVID times, so that's
Yeah.
nice.
It's
One of the
let's
first
just,
responders right
impress
here.
everybody.
Yeah.
But hey, man, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, back, a couple years ago when Steve and I kind of thought, oh, let's try to do something together. Around that same time, you were kind of in the incubation period for something with your friend Tyler.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about like the evolution of that.
Okay. So we have a page on Instagram, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen, called the Fathership, and it's about two single dads who are figuring it out one mess at a time. And you know, who are at times a bit over their skis, but they wouldn't trade their experience for anything in the world.
That term is underused.
Yeah,
Over their skis,
right?
Like,
Yeah.
maybe in California, just people don't say it because they're like, over your surfboard, bro.
Over your snowboard, man.
Over your board. You're a little
Yeah.
over your board, bro.
You kind of sound like a Forrest Gump surfer.
Or
We're gonna
Forrest
go
Gump.
catch some wicked waves, bro. I'm from Boston, by Alabama, via Los Angeles. We're gonna go shred some. What do you call it? Barrels.
Well, they don't shred barrels, but yeah, close.
So anyway, the Fathership is that. It's two guys, two single dads, with their respective daughters figuring out one mess at a time. It started out as an Instagram page, and now I don't want to get too into what it's turning into, but we're developing it into a very fun project.
Right.
Awesome.
That everybody will soon see.
But the thing is, like, you guys were making these fun content,
yeah.
Fun videos.
Great
and,
content, yeah.
But you mentioned that your kind of long view was, to create long form content, to create,
Right.
To do storytelling in a bigger way than video clips. And we've had aspirations like that, but never a real plan. We just like to do dumb stuff.
Yeah,
and then
sure do.
we kind of kept doing that, and we're like, oh, this is a comfy space.
Sure is.
Let's keep
Yeah.
making dumb stuff.
Yep.
And I really applaud you for
Not being dumb.
Well, I mean that's not dissimilar to where Tyler and I started. Tyler and I have been friends for.
Yeah, you guys were doing kind of comedic stuff when you were.
Yeah, I mean, he and I have been friends for 15 or so years.
Right.
And so, we were friends back in acting class back in the day. That's how we met at an acting school here in LA. And then we lost touch, and then each got married, and then each got, had kids, each got divorced, and then, by the magic of
Sure.
Instagram, we reacquainted. We're like, oh, you're a single dad? Cool, so am I. Let's meet and have lunch. And we did, and we just started shooting the shit and
Yeah.
having a great time comparing war stories. And we closed the restaurant down, and then we're like, okay, you know what? Let's take something that is, single parenthood is not to be taken lightly, and it's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's
Sure.
not.
And
sir.
it's the hardest job I'll ever have. It's given me some of the most immense joy in my life, and it's been some of the most painful times in my life. And so we thought, what a great idea to turn something like that into something bigger.
Sure.
For not only ourselves, but for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And every single person who watches our content, who will eventually watch our show, will relate.
Yeah.
Everybody was raised by somebody.
Yeah, and I like that it's about dads.
Yeah.
Right, because a lot of times you hear about single moms, right? That's
Yeah,
how I grew-
absolutely.
How I grew up, but I think
Absolutely.
it's a cool perspective change on seeing how it's not easy for a dad either
No.
at all.
And it's a unique perspective in that it's not talked about, it's not in the forefront, but there's nothing unique about being a single dad. It's just not talked about.
Sure.
Right.
The way people are talking about masculinity and family dynamic, everything is on the table now, and everything's people are becoming more comfortable talking about all kinds of different things, and so and there's such fertile ground for storytelling because like, we interviewed Michael Gross a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about family ties,
Yeah.
and like the like how it's obviously a sitcom, but at the end of every show was like that like sitcom dad makes it right moment where there's
Right.
a hug. But I think about obviously what you guys are doing is not that, but in that parenting is so that whole like there's so many stories to tell in that no matter how many shows are made about family dynamic,
Yeah.
there's always a different dynamic that can be made, great stories can come out of, and I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, our show. Thank you. Our show is less of that,
Of
like
course.
Full House Family Ties,
Right.
and more of what do you do when you're a single dad and your 3-year-old girl asks you how to wash herself in the bath.
Sure.
The comedy, like I
Right.
can see the abject fear in both of your eyes.
Right.
But then there's the comedy around that.
Right.
That so it's like Full House meets It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. You guys got some good stuff going on. It sounds like.
We're very excited for what's happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and we're so lucky to have jobs, and then what I love about talking to you guys is that our creative brain space is also occupied in other arenas, which is a really is we're very lucky.
Absolutely, I agree with you there. It's never enough to be working for me.
Sure.
To have a job, and that's not saying my job as an actor on my show is not the most important thing I'm doing right now.
Sure,
it is,
of course.
but yeah, it's I feel grateful that I have that kind of angst and antsiness that kind of churns inside of me that galvanizes me to always be doing something else.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's drive.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a work ethic.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have a passion for the art.
Yes.
But it's just funny because we used to spend so much time together doing, obviously Port Chuck was a venture of sorts, right? And a creative venture that felt like just dumb fun, not dumb fun, but it didn't.
Dude, it was going to Disneyland every single day.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's funny now that as the years have gone on, we are still kind of motivated to find what gives us that.
Can you not do that hand stuff?
I'm grabbing.
Can you not?
I'm the grabbies.
Yeah, but it is. You're right. Absolutely right. It's great to do other stuff.
Yeah.
Port Chuck was fun, and we worked it, and it was awesome. But the one thing is, you don't sing enough. That's one of the problems.
What do you mean?
Well, because you're so talented, you don't sing. You don't really like.
How
besides
often do you
Port
get to
Chuck,
sing?
you don't sing.
I should be saying. Yeah, I don't.
You know what I mean? So it's
I
like same thing
barely
with
sing.
Brad. It's like
Yeah. Unless I'm doing
now
like
we're
a
doing some more
parody.
stuff, but it's like
Yeah, unless I'm doing like a parody song on my Instagram with my guitar, I don't. Yeah,
right.
I don't sing it.
Well,
Yeah.
there's value there too.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's awesome.
Gosh, I hope so.
There's value there.
Well, we get a big day ahead of us.
Big day.
We got a lot of work
Yeah.
to do.
A lot of work to pull this off. So
But
hopefully.
this is so nice to start our day with a
it'll
little
be
coffee
amazing.
and a little chat.
So much fun. I'm so happy to be back with you guys.
Yeah, dude, it was so fun last night.
Jeremy, and
Yeah, me too, guys. Thank
Jeremy,
you.
we couldn't have
Jeremy,
done
Guys,
it.
thanks for having me back.
Jeremy,
you slayed
everything-
this
everything
podcast.
is
Jeremy,
going-
is that your
Just-
podcast voice?
Yes, guys, thank you. Let's make this one go viral.
Dude, when we
Let's make this one go viral. Said nobody ever in any viral video.
when we first started, dude, it was hilarious because he didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what they wanted to hear. What do you guys want to hear from me? I'm a male bald nurse. What do you guys want? I'm sitting here.
You're a
at
Jack.
the table.
You're a Jack transporter.
Well, okay.
Yeah, stand up.
Yes,
Stand
thank
up.
you. I am
Stand
Jack.
up.
They can see. They can see. But here I am. What do you guys
But
think?
he didn't know how to really talk, like his
Right.
voice, like
Oh my
he's
God.
like this.
So is
No,
it
because I'm
my voice just cracked. I just
sitting
hit
with you
puberty. Did you
guys.
guys hear that?
You guys are talking about your acting, and I'm like, what do they want to hear from me?
Well, you went out to
Which is
LA
great.
to-
Look,
you
I
went out to LA to act.
I did, and but I'm just saying, like, I love it that you guys have me even sitting here for a microphone. It's awesome. But I'm just saying, I'm not. You guys are talking about your
What's
acting.
more fun, nursing or this?
This. Are you kidding me?
So
This.
you guys met out in LA, what, in the 80s, 90s? No, that's
Wait, what?
70s?
Why do we have the
but-
freaking Joker?
Yeah.
In the 80s? You guys meet in Hollywood in the
Well,
80s?
he
Well,
was
no,
born in
I guess
the
not
80s.
you, but
2000.
because we're the same
2000.
age.
No, we met in Nashville on The Last
Last
Castle.
Castle.
That's what it was. That's what it
No,
was.
I went out there.
And then he
I
went out
tried,
and he lived right near you.
but I
dude.
got
Oh,
broke.
okay.
Where'd you live again?
I lived in Woodland Hills, right there off Irwin and Topanga Canyon.
Oh,
When I
there's a
moved out
McDonald's
there.
right there.
Yeah, I worked
Yeah.
at the Best Buy. Actually, did loss prevention out there. Got rocks thrown at me, and
Loss prevention.
and I was like, "Here's your check
Yeah.
your receipt."
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
And then
I
I,
remember
lived
those
in
days.
White Oak, in Encino. I was
Okay.
an Encino man.
Nice.
And
Right off-
man.
His apartment was there. There's you get off at White Oak,
Yeah.
and there's a building right on the off
Against the freeway.
That
Yeah.
was the building.
That's
you
your
could
building.
hear
I know that.
every car.
Yep.
And
don't
the
need a
gap
white
under my
noise
door was like this
Oh my god.
wide,
Yeah.
so I heard every sound,
Wow.
everything. So
He
but-
came out and just went home. Anyway, thanks, Jeremy.
Hey,
For,
I didn't just go home. I didn't have any money.
so he went home.
So when did you get? When was your foray into nursing?
When I didn't have a job. No, I'm just kidding. No, so I did initially, yes.
So you ran out of money. You were in Los
I did. I
Angeles,
ran out of money.
and you decided to move back.
This
Is-
is all
is-
getting it out.
No, it's not.
No,
Sorry,
you decided
sorry,
to
guys.
move. You decided to move back to Nashville.
I did.
Is Nashville home?
Nashville's home.
Okay.
Yes, I was originally born in Michigan, if you care.
Okay.
They care.
Sure.
And no, went back home. I started taking college because
Don't
that's
say
what
that.
you know,
Word on our podcast.
College?
Michigan.
Ugh.
So I started taking classes in college when I got back because that's what you do when you
Go to college.
don't have a job.
When you decide not to act anymore.
And you know, so anyways, and I had taken English, history, you name it, I'd taken it, and then still didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do. And had some medical people in the family, and somebody's like, "Hey, why don't you do nursing?" And I was like, "Oh, what do I got to take?" And they're like, "Well, you're only missing 2 classes because you've taken everything else." And so I did. I took those 2 classes, and I've always been kind of a, I know it doesn't seem that way on this podcast, but outgoing. Shut your faces. I knew that was going to be a hit when I said that.
It's a smash hit.
But, I mean,
I'm
I
a
could talk to
very
you.
outgoing guy.
I really, I am.
I'm boisterous.
But yeah, so I.
So you became a nurse.
See, and that's why.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Gaylord Fokker.
There you go.
See,
So
I
much.
just all worked out.
I always get so worried
We'll end the
that
podcast on
Meet
that.
the Parents is so old and people haven't seen it,
I'll
and
be
he,
up all three
he loves to
of
throw out that reference,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I hope everybody gets it.
Well, I do get called. It's actually funny
Oh.
because I do get
Meet
called
the
ma'am.
Fockers.
I get
Meet
called
the
ma'am all the
Fockers.
time at work.
Seriously?
All the time.
Like by accident, or is
I
like
just,
a
no,
as
patients
like
will be like, "Oh, thank you, ma'am," and they'll correct themselves,
Okay.
and I'm like, "It's cool, I'm a male nurse," so it's okay to call me ma'am.
How many people think you're literally the transporter? when they
Oh,
come in?
I get stopped everywhere.
Do you really?
Target, Walmart. I've been in the bathroom at the urinal,
Oh my
and some
god.
dude tried talking to me.
Well, that wasn't because of the transport.
Well, that's just because I'm extremely good looking.
Okay.
Was he doing one of these?
Well, he was taller.
Very
He was
tall.
tall.
7'2".
Yes.
Anyway. All right.
Wow, this went off the rails.
Yeah, it did.
Sorry,
Thanks.
guys.
No, you're
You're
good.
fine, dude.
Hey, we're gonna have a great day, and
Are we? All right. Thank you guys. Hey, we appreciate you guys listening, by the way.
Yes,
and
and-
supporting us, and you're awesome, and can't wait to do more.
yeah, thanks for everybody that joined us this weekend for Port Chuck, and we got a lot of fun stuff coming.
Yes, we do.
Yes, so thanks everybody.
Thanks,
Have
Brandon.
a
Thank you,
great-
guys.
Jeremy,
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Thank you for
Have
having
a
me.
great week, everybody.